What's up, everybody? Welcome back to DMW Sports. We are here with the power rankings. We have a month to evaluate these teams. I am ready to get into it every single week. I will be back here every single Tuesday dropping my power rankings. This, of course, will be week 4 into week 5, but also there's a bonus aspect to this. Every single month, I will be updating my quarterback tiers. And the reason why I'm saying monthly is I do feel like there are spaces in time in which you can go throughout the season and people will react or maybe overreact, on a week to week basis. This is based off of what my preseason rankings were, and I've made some tweaks that I'll point out to you guys. But I'd like to take it a month at a time when you talk about individual player rankings because, look, sometimes it's people like to overreact to just one game sample size of kind of matchups, et cetera, et cetera. So some small movement from our preseason quarterback tiers. We'll talk about what's changed in my power rankings. Let's get it started. So, starting out with my week 4 and week 5 power rankings, I have them ordered this way. And again, the tiers are going to be a little bit fluent. I will say this, these will change it ultimately. Right now, the NFC looks like the stronger conference, so they get the top tier ultimately. There will be time probably where I end up making them the same color and saying that that's the same level, but one tier versus the other. But for right now, NFC looks like they've got the edge as far as the conferences are concerned for the strength. So I've got the NFC elite, and these are really the teams that I think can compete for the NFC crown and come and be able to make the Super Bowl. Rams, Eagles, Packers, Lions. I said before the season, the Rams, if Matthew Stafford is healthy, then they are my pick to get to the Super Bowl. I stand by that take. Matthew Stafford has been healthy. They look very good. I know they technically lost to the Eagles on that block kick. I understand it completely. This is a great team, in my personal opinion, especially when you talk about what they can do in the defensive trenches, and that passing game is incredibly dangerous. Eagles have been a little bit up and down. They've been winning in some interesting ways. Obviously, the whole A.J. Brown passing game saga is a whole thing. You still see how much talent is on this team, and ultimately that they can flip a switch in some respects and do what's necessary to win these games. You got to tip their cap as defending champions. Packers obviously coming off of the poor offensive performance versus the Browns that resulted in a loss, the poor defensive performance that resulted in a tie versus the Cowboys. I still believe in the upside of this team. I understand that I did say obviously they're my favorite to come out of the NFC. I just want to see Stafford at least make it through a month of football, okay, which he has. And so the Rams are properly restored, but still believe the Packers can certainly come out of the NFC. And the Lions, obviously recovering from what was a week 1 loss to the Packers, have responded in kind with 3 straight wins, including a very impressive win over the Ravens on Monday Night Football, and obviously their dominance this past week as well. They deserve to be up here. They can make that Super Bowl. I would still have them 4th among this team. A little bit of question marks as far as the defensive side of the ball, but ultimately this is a very dangerous team on both sides because the Detroit Lions are humming along. Now we get to the AFC contenders. I know this may be a list that some people may have some issues with. Bills, Chiefs, Chargers. Bills are 4-0. They deserve to be up here, no doubt about it. I still think they have some specific weaknesses, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The offensive playmakers are a little bit a little bit of a question mark for me, but I still think they obviously deserve to be here. Chiefs righted the ship, obviously had the dominant win over the Giants, dominant win over the Ravens, who you'll see obviously a little bit further down on this list. I think you see Xavier Worthy coming back and how much that means for him. See Spagnuolo have made the proper adjustments for this defense, getting Noah Williams more involved, getting Ashton Gelati, Norman Lott more involved on the defensive line. They've responded in kind with a much better effort across the defense than they had versus the Chargers in week 1. Speaking of which, they deserve to be in the AFC contenders. Obviously, the loss to the Giants is poor. They are going through some serious offensive line issues with Joe Alt being out for a few weeks, in addition to having lost Rashawn Slater for the entirety of the season. That is a major question mark for them. Defense is still good. Justin Herbert in this passing game is still dangerous, but that offensive line is going to be an issue, and obviously the Giants took full advantage of it. Now we get to the playoff teams, and this is going to stay. These first 3 tiers are going to stay within the 14-team mark because obviously only 14 teams ultimately make the playoffs. So Buccaneers, NFC South favorites right now. Obviously lost a close game to the Eagles. I still have them right there. Colts, even though they lost to a good Rams team on the road, lost to a good Rams team, in my opinion, still think that they are a good team and they're rightful favorites in the AFC South. Seattle Seahawks, I got to say, this is the number 1 team that I've been wrong about so far through a month of the season. I thought that they were going to take a step backwards. I thought Sam Darnold was not going to replicate the success of Geno Smith, and honestly, he's been a little bit better than that. Jason is vaulted himself into being one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, continuing his second-year breakout from last season. It's been very impressive. Jaguars, an interesting team on both sides of the ball. Liam Cohen's been able to get Travis Etienne and this run game really going, and their defense is playing well, so it's a good formula. Not too much has had to be placed on that passing game shoulders. Steelers humming along, really good win versus the Vikings, in my opinion, specifically for their offensive performance versus that Brian Flores defense. Broncos dominant win versus the Bengals. I think they deserve a spot. And the Niners are hanging on. Obviously, tough loss to the Jaguars. Purdy came back, did not look great. Seemed like he was struggling a little bit with his arm strength as well. That's something to be watched as you talk about some teams that we're going to get to in the hunt that are going to be trying to come after them for that final spot. Vikings, Commanders, Bears. Bears at the back end of this. Vikings, really good defense. Commanders trying to get Jaden Daniels back. Obviously lost to the Falcons ultimately. I expect Daniels to be back sooner rather than later, so I won't be panicking about where the Commanders are at. But you're starting to see a little bit of some of the issues as well, specifically Marshawn Lattimore now working out for that defense on that side of the ball. Patriots have obviously a dominant win versus the Panthers. It was the Panthers, so I'm not overreacting to that, but they are in the hunt for me to try and get an AFC spot, obviously wildcard spot, I should say. Cardinals, Falcons, also, 500 teams. What are they? The Falcons lost to the Panthers. Cardinals look terrible. I don't know. They're just there for right now, but they've got enough talent that they should be in the mix at the very least. And Texans have the talent, but obviously they just got their first win versus the Titans. They have to replicate the success. And we'll talk about the Ravens in a second, but with Lamar Jackson down for 2 to 3 weeks, they've got to show up, in my opinion, next week and get a win. Cowboys, Ravens, Bengals, Giants, Raiders, it just meh. They all have their major issues, even though the Cowboys obviously were able to get a tie. You see the issues on defense. No CeeDee Lamb for a bit. That is going to affect them on a consistent basis, even with Dak Prescott on a heater. Ravens defensive woes, they are terrible and also decimated now. Lamar Jackson down for a few weeks. This is going to be tough for them to dig out of. Bengals have issues across the board. Giants, Raiders, obviously issues from that standpoint too. Even though Giants were Jackson Dart, just got a little bit of energy injected into them. I'll tell you what, the Giants and Bengals need to be on the phone for one of their quarterbacks to get the Bengals back on track. Obviously, Raiders are trying their best, but Ashton Jitty had himself a day. Shout out to Ashton Jitty for that day as well. And I will say that Bears game, they should have won. Obviously, just had the block kick. Got to fix that at late game execution. Browns, Saints, Dolphins trying their best. Dolphins got the win over the Jets on Monday Night Football, so I wanted to give them a little bit of credit as well. Browns and Saints, they're trying. The Saints competed. The Browns are competing, especially because of their defense, but there's not much else to be done. And then just bad. Jets, it's bad. Their defense has not stepped up with Aaron Glenn, in my personal opinion. The offense, it can run the ball, but that's not enough in the modern NFL. Titans, bad across the board, really. Just Cam Ward trying to survive at this point. The Panthers, Bryce Young, looks like he's reverted to his rookie year self, and the rest of that roster is very untalented. So that's my week 4 into week 5 power rankings. Let's go ahead and get to the quarterback tiers. So the quarterback tiers are pretty simple. Everything's kind of stayed the same pretty much since we've last talked. I did eliminate 2 of these tiers as far as the average with upside and the kind of, or I should say below average with upside, kind of move those guys in based on where they've been throughout this portion of the season. We also have a little bit more in the consistent difference makers. I think the way that Jared Goff has responded since they did get rid of the coordinators deserves his, moving up. Justin Herbert really moving into that 5th spot. He's borderline into that alien territory. I'm not going to lie, next to Burrow. He's making the case to be there. Stafford, obviously healthy, moves up. Dak, in the way he's played early on, moves up. Pushes some of the young guys down. Jordan Love a little bit up and down. Jay Daniels, obviously with the injuries, up and down. And CJ Stroud, of course, struggling behind the Texans' offensive line. But that started to affect his play to the point where he may be moving down into inconsistent difference makers, of which Baker, in my opinion, is still up and down, but still worthy of being there, certainly, especially at the top of the list. Caleb Williams, Drake May, I've liked what I've seen from both of these guys, and both of them are doing a good job, in my personal opinion. Brock Purdy, injuries, up and down. We'll see when he comes back. Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, moves up into inconsistent difference makers from average with his performance. Same thing for Sam Darnold. I've been impressed with both of them. Kyler State's at the end of this, but he is very much in danger of going to average. Speaking of which, Trevor Lawrence, I haven't seen enough from him, but they haven't also put enough on his plate, so I'm leaving him in average. Maybe he can move up, but I'm concerned. Geno Smith, based on his play, he has not looked the same guy that he was in Seattle. He has gone and regressed, in my personal opinion, when he's gone to the Raiders. He comes down to average. Bo Nix, Tua staying there. And then starter quality. Bryce Young goes down there, again, reverting. I think Spencer Rattler deserves to move up into starter quality, which people may be a little bit confused about. I thought he's played solidly enough to be a starter quality quarterback, in my personal opinion. So I've got him there next to Winston and Russ and Kirk as well. And the question mark guys, obviously Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, J.J. McCarthy. Haven't seen enough of those guys. They're going to stay down there in that question mark aspect too. So those are my quarterback tiers. Those are my power rankings for week 4, week 5. Tell me what you disagree with. See you guys back here for a marquee matchup of 49ers Rams